So I'm going to do the unusual idea. There you go. That's what's happening. So let's talk. You know when you have an idea that's so crazy that you just have to write it, right? Well, yeah. That's what's happened to me. So basically, for the last 36 hours, a bunch of my friends have been like, you should write this book. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. So let's talk it out. So I'm going to do a series here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to talk about the process of how I would plan on a novel. This might not be how you plan on a novel or a novel series, because it's probably going to be 3 books, maybe just 2. We'll see. Because I have a couple of different ways of going with this. So, hi, besties. It's Weaver. Here to talk to you about being a professional writer and my process. And here's where I give my little disclaimer that this would be my 17th book if I started writing it. I just finished my 15th book, which is Bodega Cat Volume 1. I'm on to my 16th book, which is Bodega Cat Volume 2. Bodega Cat is a third-person, past tense, multiple POV book, although the POVs are kind of limited a little bit. And I'm thinking that I want to do either 1 or 2 first-person, past tense POVs for this idea. And so this kind of came out after. So I am a writer who cannot write something that isn't comedy. So like, if I'm going to write something that's comedy, I'm going to lean into that anyway. And but toss this idea around. Right. So let me give you my little thesis from the start. Ideas are great. They're fine. They're little ephemeral things that you can grab and you can take a look at them and say, okay, I want to take this idea and I smush them together. Truck Litrpg. What? Because every single person that I mentioned to is like, I want to read that. I'm like, well, that's what everybody said about Nathan Soulchild, and then I have like 300 raving fans that are just like loving it. All right, so I'm going to start with my idea. The idea is that this person owns a food truck and probably has a 3-person team to run it. They do events, and I watched a whole 2 seasons of Food Wars or Food Racing Wars, Food Truck Wars, whatever it is, on the Food Network, which is kind of informing my decision that this is going to be the thing that I write next, probably. Okay. All right. So, decisions, right? As soon as I said I want to do a Food Truck Litrpg, I'm like, okay, so what's similar to this? Merchant Crab, which I love Merchant Crab, and Demon World Boba Shop. They're both kind of cozy Litrpgs about merchants selling stuff. Merchant Crab, he lives in a pond and people come to him and he slowly gets familiars. Demon World Boba Shop, he's the new guy in town. He's the only human. And he has a special Boba Shop restaurateur class. Take those 2. Lean all the way back. Take those 2 ideas, and I'm going to marry those up with the show. It's called Two Broke Girls. And if you know Two Broke Girls, you know Kat Dennings. She is an amazing comedian. And she like knocked out of the park there. I forgot I don't know her partner's name, the blonde girl, but like, amazing show. I watch it every day if I could. Two Broke Girls. And then one of the big things is like throughout the series, the byline is that they opened up a cupcake shop. and then they get funding and yada yada yada, right? And I'm like, and so I was talking with Cosplay, KOS, and I'm like, he's on the same side as me. He doesn't really want to write like fighting. I'm like, I don't really want to write fighting. I want to write an interesting drama about interesting characters. So what I would like to have, so this is where I take the idea and I take it and smoosh it into execution. All right, so I don't have any characters yet, but I know what I want to do is I want to have 2 characters in a relationship and a third wheel who's like just always there. And if you've read Stormlight Archives, I want you to think about Shallan, Adolin, and Kaladin. The third wheel, Kaladin, is always there with those 2 besties. They're married at some point in time, but like, just think of it like Sokka and his sister and Aang, and like it's like a brother-sister duo, and like we got the crazy guy. Like I want that, and I didn't even know that I wanted that. Okay, so that's the part of the idea. So now I have to create those characters, and which one of the 3 characters am I going to make the main character? Probably the third wheel. Okay. All right. So it starts with the character. So now I have my character. They're all going to work on the food truck together because whatever reason, it's a family business, or that's just how it is. And then so I've got that. I'm going to marry that up, and this is kind of a status thing. So if you're looking at the story grid, like different types of genres, this is probably going to be a status one, and it's going to be about, okay, so they're in a relationship, and then get the main character name. I'll name the main character male or female. I don't know. Kaiza. We'll name her Kaiza, right? So Kaiza, she runs a food truck. And my other debate is, am I going to doing this in contemporary time frame or fantasy time frame? And because half the response I got, like, I want to see a food truck arrive at a dungeon, and the other half is, I would like to see, at least for me, like a contemporary lit RPG where like the person has the stats to run the food truck. I really don't want to do another isekai, because that's what it would have to be if they're actually running a food truck. So like my first big decision is like, am I set in contemporary? Because if I set it in contemporary, it's going to be in the same world as Gamer Manager. Gamer Manager has a very sleek system, and the only thing the system there is for is so that the main character, Kelly, I like these K names. So Kelly Thomas, professor at the community college of business. All she can do is tell people stats in the game, defiance of the ancients, right? So like it's like kind of like a League of Legends MOBA type game. So you can see somebody, and if they play the game, she can see their stats. If they played once, they're like level 1 or whatever, or they have like 1 potential and current potential and current ability, right? So she can see, like, she can scout people to play for her esports team, and that is the only ability, and that is it. And I'm going to be doing a rewrite for that soon. I don't even know when that's going to be on, because I'm finishing the rewrites for Caravan right now. But I digress. So I would want that to be in the same world. Game Manager, I want it to be the same world as this food truck lit RPG. But I'm thinking now that it would probably be better if it's in fantasy worlds. And then if I do it in a fantasy world, then I would want it to be in the Caravan of Blades world, which would mean it'd be another deck builder. But I've already written the system for that, so I understand that really well. Because what I don't want to do is have all these disconnected series. I want to have like sect leaders in the same world as Nathan Soulchild. Bodega Cat's going to be in the same universe as the parenting series I write in 2026. My Romantasy series is going to be wholly unconnected because it's going to be like 6 to 8 romance books, where it's like one couple, then a different couple, then a different couple. But for this one, I'm like, all right. So the decision is, am I writing it as a contemporary food truck, or am I going to write it as the fantasy food truck? So that's my first decision, right? I want to have my core 3 characters who run the food truck. I want to have a dynamic between them, where the main character is the third wheel. Because you always hear about like 2 characters' relationship, and it's always from one of their perspectives. Yeah, actually, that was kind of what I did in Caravan of Blades. Finley is asexual in Caravan of Blades. He's also named after one of the fish my in-laws had. So he's like a perpetual third wheel. Spoilers. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna have to pick one, but like probably gonna be 2 people in a relationship and a third wheel. Gotta figure out what that arc is gonna be. And then probably make this a thing. So normally what I would do now is I would just name the characters, and then I'm gonna sort of write in the dark. And then what I've been doing recently is I've been telling people like, I'm going to have you, I would have you start in chapter 3, which means they don't get the powers in chapter 3. They get the powers in chapter 1 in the prologue. But I want to start like with them actually doing something. So maybe this is like the 3rd event that they're doing, right? So a food truck, you got to do the setup, right? So let's back up. So the way that I write books is that each is 3 or 4 big arcs, and each arc is like a heist. And so what's a heist? Well, you have the job, right? That's the big thing, is the job part of the arc. And then you have what happens during the job and the entanglements, right? So job, entanglements that happen. So like the example is Caravan of Blades. You do a heist, you steal something from somebody, but then like you draw heat. So like you have to like draw down your heat, and heat is like the effect of the police. This is a role-playing game. It's like you're a gang in Victorian England, except there's magic and you can't leave the lightning zone. It's a little bit more complicated than that. It's gothic. I love it. So if you play role-playing games with your friends, the heist, you start with the heist, right? So they're going to be like, and the heist for them is like they're selling their goods, right? And then we move into entanglements, and then resolution, right? So there's entanglements, and they do something, they get the goal, they get the reward, and then there's free play, right? And so I have each arc divided up that way, because like in one they're focused on the mission, they're doing things together, they're doing crosstalk, they're all in a bottle together, they're all in the truck, and then the mission's over, the fair is over, the 2-day event is over, the food truck is sitting in their parking lot, the food truck is sitting in their lawn until the next event, right? And then they have to like buy more stuff, they have to go back, and they have to deal with all the fallout of that. So like they clean up the truck, pay the bills, pay the fees, pay the people, go home, all the little stuff that happens after that. And I'm not going to write every single part of that, right? Because it's boring if you write every single part. You just write the friction parts, right? So if you were going to write, like, let's say like a book about CrossFit, or CrossFit coach, or a CrossFit gym, you wouldn't like just be like, oh, and then they did burpees, and then they did this, and then they did that, and then like how they felt. Like, you just kind of gloss over some of the things, where like you could have a narrative summary, and then you go to the next like high point, or the next little point, like, okay, And then like he got sweet potato fries and they were awesome. And he met the love of his life or something like that, right? So I got my heist, I got my entanglements, and I got my rewards, and then I have a free play. And a free play is when they find the next thing, right? It's the morning after, and they're like, okay, we've got 2 more things set up for the season. What's the next one? Okay, can we find another after that? Okay, we have the permit to go park out there on a Saturday. Could I do an ice cream truck? Litrpg? I don't know. And then, so heist. So we'll do 3 arcs like that. So like the first arc is going to be, they're in the middle of handing out chicken wings or whatever, right? And so I haven't decided what they're going to be doing. But the chicken wing guys were my favorite during the food truck wars. So I'm probably going to be doing that. I'll take a look. But the thing about it is like someone would have to get food in the morning, right? So there's like a cook, there's somebody taking orders, and then there's one person that's like back and forth between like supplies and cooking, and right. So it could technically be 2 people, but like the way that I'm thinking about it, also maybe they need like a speedster. And I'm thinking about the stats, and I'm like, okay, I want to use the simplest stats possible. I want to have miles traveled, I want to have number of people served, and I want to have something. And I want to have interesting constraints. And what are interesting constraints? I want to think about like food can't just pop out of nowhere. Like in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a spell that just creates food and water, and it would break an economy if it existed. So they're going to have to do all the stuff that the guys in the food truck wars do. They have to go get their equipment. They have to go make sure it works. The truck obviously has to run, which means somebody has to have mechanical skills, or they have to pay somebody to do it, right? And so that can be one of the entanglements, is like the thing breaks down. And again, back to the heist. They're doing the thing. They got to be able to run the cooking utility. Like if they're cooking wings, then is it a deep fryer? Are they baking them? Are they all baked wings? Are they boneless wings? What kind of sauces do they have? They need to have a fridge for the sauces. For some of the sauces, they need to have rum for the fridge. It'd be really weird if they were all deep fryers, although it'd be simple. If you didn't know this, I used to be a cook for the Army. Not as a soldier, but like as a DA civilian. For a summer. It was a very interesting job. So like there has to be a way for them to make the food, and like besides like mentioning a couple times, especially if they're going to yell at each other about it, like I don't really want to go too deep into how they're making it, as long as like I can hand wave it, right? And like where's the drama going to be? So maybe they get like shafted from one place, and I was like, so I'm talking to my friend Tonic, and she's saying like, okay, well, if we could do dueling, food truck Litrpg, and I'm just like, say less, fam, because there are people that I want to do projects with. There's a couple people that I want to do a project with, but like I want to do a male and female parenting dual POV, but I'll do it myself if I have to. But this one, I'm kind of like, I would do like the male and female POV in the same one, or male female like competitors, because they would have to show up at the same thing, even though it would just right. So like one of my things is like I want to introduce as few characters as possible, and if I have a merchant, then I have to introduce like recurring like people that buy food, or like recurring customers. And that's part of the things that I'm going through in Bodega Cat. It's like adding more customers, adding more, fleshing out the world, right? And if I use the same world as Bodega Cat, or the same world as Gamer Manager, those are pretty fleshed out locations. Like one's in Manhattan, the other one's in Bergen County. Like I know these places really well because that's where I grew up. But that's all the stuff that goes into my pre-planning. And so I must apologize to Chicken because I don't really do a big pre-planning document. But like, that is it. I'm going to do 3 arcs like that, where it's the heist, it's the entanglements and the rewards, and it's free play, right? And so let me just go back into free play, where free play is like all little things that they're going to take care of on their own, separately or together. Like, is a couple going to go on a date? Like, is that one person going to go play the arcade or whatever they're going to do? Are they going to go climb a mountain? Like, what are they doing when they're separate? And there's some of that stuff that they're doing separately. Together, 2 of them, 3 of them, with other friends, and then how is that going to show their character, right? Because if I start off and I'm only doing one POV, then obviously I can only show that POV's position, but then the other people can be like, yeah, so I did this thing, and the main character can be like, you did what? I want to do that next time. And then the next free play time, or like the next day, they can do that together, and then you can experience it from the POV of the person doing it after you've heard about it. And there's a thing that kids media does where it's like, oh wow, I love this thing you give me, and you're getting the experience of the character getting the thing, because they're showing you that the character appreciates it or the character is amazed, right? And so I can show you that the character is amazed because they're like, hey, I'm glistening with sweat, I'm smiling, I'm buzzing, I did this mountain, I climbed all the way up, I freaking loved it. And like, another character can relay that to the main character, and you can get a sense that the character is like, loves that thing, and that's their inspiration. And then you can show the MC like, actually, this is not so bad, and they like it. So this is how I start planning. And I know this is like definitely a rambling video, but like, that's what I'm thinking about my arcs. And just to be fair, like in Caravan of Blades, like the first big arc was supposed to be that they got a airship, right? So I'm thinking about, okay, so you do this thing, you clear this area, you get out, you find an airship, and then like the characters kind of like take over, and they're like, I'm actually gonna do this first, and I'm just like, okay. So instead of getting the airship at the 30,000 word mark, they got it at the 300,000 word mark at the end of book 3. And that just kind of happens when you write into the dark. But like, I'm writing these characters. I'm not writing a strict plot. And I apologize, Chicken, for not having a big plot document. Like, but I just know, like, if I structure it this way, where they're doing a heist, entanglements, free play, heist, entanglements, free play, then I can just be like, okay, this way, it could be an actual heist. It could be just them hawking their wares. It could be a dungeon. It could be a fight, and like the last heist could be like them fighting the boss. But like, it's a food truck, so they're just going to try to make money. And I'm writing in that interstitial space between like when they're actually doing stuff, when they stop, because there's no line. And they all like celebrate, and they have to check, and they're just like, oh shoot, we have no chicken left. Barney, go get them stuff. Go get some chicken really fast. And then Barney like runs, books it, and like comes back with like a stack of chicken this tall, and they're like, awesome, and they start cooking it because the line's back up. And that tension where they're like, are we gonna make it? I don't know. Because I could make it a competition thing. I've already done a baking competition. Tales of the River Folk Volume 1. It's on Amazon right now. Check it out. It's been out for a while. Amazing editing on that, but it's a novella. This would be a series. At least 2 books, maybe 3. But I'm gonna start writing this soon because I'm ahead on my production goals for Bodega Cat. I'm also going to slow down the release, and I'm going to move to not posting on weekends, which means that I have a longer run of chapters. Basically, the goal is to post 1 chapter a day on Bodega Cat, and then that's it. After the first like 3 days, and just have organic growth that way. And I know you're gonna want to follow me, and I'll make an announcement after it's live. Newsletter if people get it first. But yeah, so first it starts out with what's the concept, and I need to make some decisions because I've already got my idea, and now it's going to be 3 people, and which one of the 3 am I picking? Am I picking the male in the relationship, the female in the relationship? Are they in a gay relationship and they're both ladies? And then like one is like their brother-in-law? Are they all boys, all girls? Yeah, I don't know. Like, is it 3 gay guys? Is it like it's like 2 gay guys, and they always sell hot dogs, and like one of their sisters is there with them, and like overprotective, and she's just like, buy my boys wieners, and they're just like, please stop saying it like that, Sarah. And she's like, what? You guys sell wieners? And they're like, it's hot dogs, it's glizzies. And she's like, wieners. I don't know, because that's the kind of banter I want. So thanks for coming by. I'm probably doing a mindset video now. No, I need to do a vlog, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Thanks, besties.